Hi, I'm Judy Cole, the Executive Vice President and CEO of the MIT Alumni Association, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this web production of the MIT Alumni Association.
So yes, I do games. I'm the creative director of the MIT Education Arcade, which is sort of a research group that straddles two programs, the Scheller Teacher Education Program and Comparative Media Studies. And we do a lot of work around games. And I know that I'm talking to an audience. Some of you actually grew up playing video games. Some of you watched your children playing video games, probably told them to play less. Some of you may have only seen video games when your grandchildren started playing them. So I'll try to speak about them in a way that I think we can all understand. But I just want to point out that the oldest known playing pieces found in the archaeological record are twice as old as the oldest known writing. And so we have been playing games for a very long time. I hope all of you are proud of the fact that the first video game was invented at MIT back in 1961. But to talk about before I talk about our work, and by the way, our work is largely around K-12 education. I think you'll be able to think about ways of connecting that to college, undergraduate and graduate education as well, but I'm going to speak mostly about K-12. And what I want you to do right now is maybe close your eyes and think for a second about before MIT, about your earlier education. Think about a moment when you were really excited to learn something that you still remember as being maybe critical in you becoming the kind of good student that you obviously were to have come to MIT. So think about that thing that really excited you pre-college about your learning. Okay, just take a moment. All right, good. I guess I got to open, my slide isn't up, is it? Oh, good, it is, okay. I want to ask you now really quickly, just show of hands, how many of it, for you, how many did the experience look like that? One or two hands, right. In fact, very little of the learning that really made us passionate learners happened in the traditional way in which schooling is organized. Schooling, as we have it now in K-12, is actually a very efficient system. It's a very well-designed system, but what it's designed to do is to produce an acceptable average with maximal efficiency. And so that's all it does. It produces an acceptable average. What we know about averages is that they never really describe any individuals. And so we have a system that has students producing average scores on tests and completely disregards the things that you all were thinking about a minute ago, about the ways in which we are all actually active, passionate learners. And we all are. Not just those of us who got into MIT, but in fact, many of the students who struggle in traditional schooling are passionate learners outside of school. And that's because what we really know, to go back to my old ancient playing pieces, is that in fact, most learning happens playfully. It happens through play. And I'm willing to bet, although these are just 3 pictures, that your key moment looked a little bit more like this, perhaps. Not that any 3 pictures can actually capture the range of human experience, but I'm willing to bet that your key moments of learning looked more like this. And in fact, when we talk about using games for learning, we're not really suggesting that games are the only way that people learn. We think that there are myriad ways in which people learn, but games are one of several ways in which it's very easy to organize students in collaborative learning and in learning together and in learning around things that we would like to introduce to them, ideas that we would like to introduce to them. And so our work is partly about games, but it's really partly about trying to change the face of education so that it looks more like this than like that. Now, MIT really is an interesting place. MIT sort of, I think, in its bones, it knows it. Not only did we invent the video game, but there's a reason why hacks happen at MIT more than anywhere else. There's a reason, and you saw it in the opening video, that the mystery hunt happens at MIT. So even before MIT was conscious of the idea of playful learning, MIT was deeply engaged in playful learning. And that, in fact, is where our work, we're really trying to extend the inherent model of MIT education to the larger world. I work with Vijay on the CLICS project in India. A lot of what we're doing is actually helping to introduce games into classrooms in India, where they've unfortunately adopted our model hook, line, and sinker and are even more regimented than our traditional education is. So just to give you an example, just to talk a little bit about the kinds of games we do. The kinds of games we do are quite varied, and so I'm only going to use one example, but I hope it'll help you visualize the kind of things we do. I'm going to skip over the slide. I included a slide from Clockwork Orange, which I use as a negative example about what bad educational technology looks like. I'm going to skip over because it's kind of creepy. But the point of that slide was just to say that too often, we think about educational technology as a kind of a dosage that we can apply to a patient against their will and change them. We don't believe in that. If we believe in play, we believe in player agency, we believe in freedom. We believe that our yearning for freedom really grows out of our own yearning to play. And so we try to wire that into the kinds of products that we create. So if I gave you that and asked you to solve that, what would you do? I'm guessing most of you would. I do this sometimes with audiences. I actually give them time to do it. There isn't time here. But within about 5 minutes, people have concluded that it's a code. Some people have even figured out it's a Caesar cipher. And a small handful have even begun to solve it. Now, what if I told you that I gave a problem like that to 11 to 14-year-olds? How would they do with it? Well, we did a project with the Smithsonian Institution about 5 years ago. We called it Vanished. We announced in advance that there was going to be an MIT Smithsonian science game, and you could go online to play it. Kids enrolled in advance, and on the day that it started, about 3,000 kids went online, and here they saw this video of MIT students kind of broken up, and the MIT students said, "We have a problem. We created this great game, but somebody hacked our server. It went down. We can't figure out what to do. We need your help solving it." So remember, these are middle schoolers, age 11 to 14. So the MIT student said, "We created a forum for you to help us solve it." So the kids go online. They start comparing notes. Some of them notice, did you see that there were codes flashing on the screen? The kids go back and look at their videos. They all had different codes. Within an hour, someone proposes maybe these are ciphers. Within 2 hours, a kid finds a website, not one of our creation, in which they can actually decode ciphers. The kids start decoding their messages. It takes them 2 days to decode these little snippets, to assemble them into a message. But what happens is we've basically start them on an 8-week-long investigation in which they're talking to Smithsonian scientists every week. They're solving a series of nested scientific problems. They're forming hypotheses and testing their hypotheses. They're collecting data in the world. They're going out to museums. They're talking to each other. They're doing all this great scientific work. And they're doing it actually knowing full well that that story was fake, that it was fiction, that no one hacked the site. And the story gets more and more involved with science fiction and people from the future and global warming. The kids did really significant, hard science. And they did it in the service of their imaginations. This fact that the game sparked their imagination is what got them to do really good, hard, rigorous science. If they had simply shown up on day one and we said, kids, here's some interesting science problems, a fraction of them would have been involved. Instead, we had 8,000 kids playing this game. And so that's just one kind of game that we've done. The point is that through games, what we're actually doing is sparking imagination. And through imagination, we are actually doing deep, profound work, whether it's in science or history or mathematics. This is a model that we've, in fact, has been used sparingly by teachers throughout the ages, but it's one in which we are trying to promote more broadly, and thanks to the emergence of digital technology, it's one that we can now spread at scale. So that's our work in brief. I hope we'll get to talk about it a little bit more afterward. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us. For more information on future MIT Alumni Association productions, please visit our website.